You ever walk into a stranger's house, just trying to keep your head down, make it through another shift, and see a photograph of yourself hanging on the wall? No? Yeah, me neither. At least not until that Thursday night at the Blackwell Mansion. My God, it's me. I barely breathed the words, my hands shaking so bad I almost dropped the champagne tray. There it was, a gold-framed photo of a 4-year-old with wild curls and a pink dress. My curls, my dress. The same shy smile my foster mom used to tease me about. I stood frozen in the private hallway, trying to figure out how the hell my childhood photo ended up in the home of Chicago's most untouchable millionaire. Sure, I'd served enough parties at mansions like this. Always a ghost in black slacks. Never someone whose story mattered. Jasmine Mitchell, the invisible waitress, just another face blending into the marble and velvet. But that photo, God, it was a gut punch. My whole life, the grown-ups talked around me. Lost paperwork, difficult circumstances, the usual foster care script. Nobody mentioned that maybe my face was hanging like a secret trophy in a place where people paid more for a rug than I'd ever seen in my bank account. That's when the security guy showed up, face like stone. "Hey, what are you doing here? This wing's off limits." I flashed my best, "I'm new, sorry," smile, lied about looking for the bathroom, and hustled out before he called my boss. But my brain was running wild, piecing together the impossible. And when I finally spotted Richard Blackwell, perfect tux, charming the crowd with his little speeches about charity for children in need, I couldn't help but stare. The man talking about giving kids a second chance had my photo hanging in his home. You know what I mean? Life's just a circus of irony sometimes. He had this thing in his eyes, a flicker when he mentioned his personal tragedy. "Losing a daughter changes a man forever," he said, voice trembling just right for the crowd. But all I could think was, did he lose her, or just throw her away? As the room clapped for the big-hearted philanthropist, I felt something cold and sharp snap into place inside me. I was going to get to the bottom of this, even if it wrecked both our lives. So, yeah, I started digging. If you want dirt on the rich, you go to Marcus, the bartender who's seen more secrets spilled than gin. When I whispered, "What's Blackwell's deal?" he nearly dropped his mug. "Careful, girl. That man's got tentacles everywhere." And then he dropped a bomb. Rumors of a little girl gone missing, a wife dead in a tragic accident, a boatload of insurance money, and a trail that went cold the same year I disappeared from every system. Blackwell, the saint of orphans, getting rich off his own. Turns out, my biological mom, Helena Blackwell, had been a fierce activist, fighting for kids chewed up by the adoption system. 2 weeks before she died, she'd been digging into illegal adoptions. And right after her accident, Richard inherited everything, and the little girl, me, just vanished. You think I'm making this up? I wished that's when I pulled in Margaret Santos, ex-private investigator, old enough to see through any story. She sipped her cappuccino, eyed me up and down, and finally said, "All right, kid, who are we hunting?" When I told her, she got that look, like she knew trouble was coming, but couldn't help but lean in. That it got ugly fast. Margaret dug up a death certificate for me, a fake. Turns out, Richard had declared me dead in the same accident that killed my mom. He pocketed $500,000 in life insurance, then built his charity on our ashes. And Helena? She'd survived the accident, spent 2 hours in the hospital, and her last words to a nurse were about protecting her daughter from a monster. If you're wondering why I didn't run, it's because I realized he thought I was dead. That was my edge. So, while he played the grieving father in the papers, I was putting together a case that would tear him apart. And let me tell you, nothing tastes sweeter than serving cold revenge at a gala thrown for orphaned kids by the man who orphaned me. The night of the Blackwell Foundation's annual ball, I was back in uniform, tray in hand, but fire in my chest. Richard was on stage, talking about second chances. When he started milking his lost daughter's story, I stepped up, grabbed the mic, and looked him dead in the eye. "Mr. Blackwell, can I ask you about your daughter?" He tried to brush me off, but I didn't budge. "See, your speech moved me, especially the part about your tragic loss. Mind sharing the details?" He froze, crowd holding its breath. I kept going, laying out every dirty secret. The insurance fraud, the fake death certificates, the fact that Helena hadn't died in the crash but in the hospital, poisoned. And then I dropped the bomb. Your daughter didn't die. She's standing right here. People gasped, phones came out, and the press went wild. Richard tried to take the mic back, but I just smiled, flashed the emails I'd already sent to every journalist in the room. Files, receipts, even a recording of him admitting to his lawyer that the problem had been taken care of. By the time the cops showed up, he finally saw me, not as a servant, but as the daughter he'd tried to erase. He was arrested on the spot. As the handcuffs went on, he tried to plead, to explain, but it was too late. The entire house of cards he'd built on our bones collapsed, donors pulling out, board members jumping ship, his face all over the news as the millionaire monster. And you know what? I didn't feel sorry for him. Not for a second. 6 months later, I was running the Helena Blackwell Foundation. My name on the door, real money going to real kids, not some tax dodge scam. Margaret's my right hand. Marcus runs events, and every month I get letters from kids whose lives we changed. College scholarships, families reunited, dreams rebuilt from ashes. My face was on Time magazine, not for being a victim, but for turning my own tragedy into hope. Meanwhile, Richard's stuck in prison, his friends long gone, his ex-wives dropping bestsellers about living with a sociopath, every legacy he built stripped away. And for the first time, I found family. My Aunt Sarah, Helena's sister, who spent years searching for me. You have her eyes, she said when we finally met. Tears and all. Helena's files, her work, her fight. It's all being used to take down the same adoption rackets she died exposing. 47 arrests, a dozen agencies shut down. Her legacy, finally real, not some fairy tale for the rich. I forgive Richard? Not a chance. Some wounds run too deep, you know? He tried to write me out of history, but all he did was hand me the pen. Now, every time I walk past that gold-framed photo, yeah, I took it back. I remember not the pain, but the power of surviving, of rewriting the story everyone thought was over. You ever see justice served cold, with a side of poetic irony? That's what this is. But let's be real. Does locking up one monster fix everything? Can broken families ever really heal? Or are some scars just meant to be carried? That's for you to decide. So, tell me, where do you stand? What would you do if you found out your past was a lie? Share your story, your anger, your hope. Because sometimes, the only way to heal is to let the world know you're still here, still fighting, still rewriting the ending.